empowering you to build better lives. That's what we do. Welcome, everyone, to the Empower Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Napierski, and today I am so excited to sit down with our executive director, Kathy Schultz. And Kathy and I have worked together for literally 28, almost 29 years, right?
Yeah.
And I often say, Kathy, you are the female version of me, or I'm the male version of you, right?
That's perfect.
So we're the right brain, left brain type of thing.
That's right.
But we've known each other for years. We've grown up together professionally. Before that, you were in Missouri.
I did. I grew up in St. Louis, yes, before I moved
directly
out here.
Under the arch?
No.
Okay.
No, in a suburb. Nobody lives directly under the arch. There's a big river.
Yeah. Well, there's a park there, and so I assume maybe you grew up in the park.
In the
Going
park.
to the park. In any case, we're going to jump into this right now. So Kathy, we came together a couple of years ago, and you said, Ryan, we should start a podcast.
Right. Because, Ryan, the people want to know you.
No, not me.
The people who are listening, you're going to comment on this and help Ryan see how much we all have to learn from your experience and how well you're a good student of the game of learning from other people. And that's what makes you such a good host of this, is asking people questions and learning from it. And, what can people expect? What kind of people are you going to bring onto this podcast?
What kind of people
all of us can learn from?
We going to bring on as the director and the host of this
What kind of people are we going to bring on here?
So all kinds of people, right? To your point, I love reading. You love reading. I love reading self-help books.
I love reading.
Hate reading
fantasy
self-help books,
and fiction. Mm-hmm.
And so together we both love reading, and that's been something we've talked a lot about. Is how do you learn from other people? How do we get better? Some get better through reading about fairies. Others get better through reading about ex-military people. But either way, you learn from others' experiences. And that's what this podcast is all about. I think we have a really unique opportunity in our positions here at New Skin. We get to work with some of the most amazing, brilliant people around the globe, right? Our top leaders from around the globe. We certainly have already been able to talk to a lot of them. They're excited to be a part of it. We have the founders of our company who are amazing people. Blake, Roney, Steve Lund, Sandy Tillotson. We have a bunch of experts in business, in community, in influencing that we interact with all the time with the various companies that we're involved in and that we partner with. And then we have authors as well. And so I'd imagine at some point when you write your first book, I'll interview you for that.
Okay.
But we'll get into, I think authors as well. And so we plan to have really a myriad of people who have all dedicated in one way, shape, or form their lives or their life's work, their professions, to this idea of empowerment. Right.
So let's talk about, I have questions for you because we're going to get to know you.
Yeah, let's go into questions.
But also, empowerment means different things to different people.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about this because I want you to talk about your definition of empowerment. But I was thinking, I don't use the word empowerment very often, like me. But I've always talked about how one of the things that I'm so passionate about is using my voice for women in the workplace.
Yeah.
And using my voice for women to make choices. But that's the same thing as empowerment. Yeah. Giving myself that voice and giving others that voice. So that's kind of how I've always embodied empowerment is people having the option to choose and using their voice, right? But how do you, when you think of what empowerment means to you personally, I know you know the definition by heart.
Well, I do.
But what does it mean? Why is it such a powerful word for you?
So when I think of, to your point, I don't think we use the word empower as common language intentionally, but we use the concept all the time, right?
Right.
And I think obviously at New Skin, it's central in our mission statement to be a global force for good by empowering people to improve lives. And I go all the way back. We had Steve Lund on a bit earlier. We were talking about with Steve about the form of that mission statement and where that word came from. But it's kind of like when you tell people to look for a yellow Volkswagen Beetle, if that's still a car, then they see it all over the place, right?
Right.
And when you start to look at the word empower or the concept, it's everywhere. For me, it's an extremely important word. And I think it does go all the way back to my experience growing up from a family that had relatively meager means, 8 kids. I was the 3rd oldest. My dad, hard worker, probably didn't optimize the brain to the brawn equation. And so he worked really, really hard and made really, really no money. But it wasn't the money. It was the mindset of not feeling like he had an ability to shape the life that he wanted.
Yeah. Right.
And it was very much, this is what I do. This is how there's a lot of honor, by the way, in living that. It's a very Stoic philosophy of just, I do the thing I'm called to do in life, and I'm happy to do that. But for me as a kid, it was frustrating because I was always like, Dad, like if you just go ask for that raise, if you would just go do that thing, if you would just go show up this way, couldn't you get more? And he was content and happy there. But it started to put a real strain on our family. And towards the end of high school, for me, he had to leave and move away for a couple of years because he was not, he would not fight against his employer who had a non-compete agreement, which by definition of non-competes in the state of Utah, they couldn't have been enforced. But he was unwilling to do that. And so it was this self-empowerment thing that was lacking. And I've just always felt that that's something, the older that I've gotten, I just realize we're all empowered to build the lives we want. I mean, we truly are. Yeah. It's up to us to do it. And so that's, for me, it's been kind of central to me. And then, of course, spending the last 28, 29 years doing what we do and seeing the change when people understand that in the mind that our lives really are up to us to build it the way we want it.
Yeah.
Now it's like, to me, that it's like the most important thing that any of us can realize in our lives, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I grew up I'm 4th of 10 kids.
So you beat me. I got it.
No. But
I get it.
But I grew up in a very, I mean, my dad's an engineer, my mom's a doctor, a very like educated, like work career world. And I don't think I realized how much control people could have over their own lives until I came to New Skin either. And I came here as a college job, just trying to pay for my education.
I remember.
To do it, right?
We were both in university together. Although you were the big school, I was at the little community school down the hall.
But like, I to me, you got a corporate job and you did your job, even though I don't know why I feel like that, because my mom had 7 kids, went back to chiropractic school when she was 40. Yeah. Like, I mean, the woman
That's awesome.
Did her thing, right? She like totally was like, this is what I want. Like, she was the epitome of, I'm doing what I want with my life. Yeah. I don't have to be a stay-at-home mom with my 7 kids, had 3 more kids in part of that. But I still saw it as like, you go to school, you get a job, you do these things. And then I came to New Skin and I watched like these lives that people were changing and what it really meant, to your point, to like take control of your own destiny and to really like push how you wanted to push.
For sure.
And it was very eye-opening for me as well. Like just the broad education of life that I got by watching and working in a company like this.
Yeah. And it shapes you, right? But I remember, Kathy, like first meeting you were in the product team, right? You did a bunch of Q&A, people would call in. I was account management or communications. But you've always been a more assertive, at least from that age, you've always been an assertive person. Yeah.
But, and again, maybe it was underlying because I watched my mom do what she wanted to do. I think I was 7 when she went like back to school full time. Yeah. 8 maybe. I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. But I was young enough a while ago that I remember it. Yeah. It wasn't just who she was. Like I remember it, but I didn't realize how much it changed and impacted my life. And it added the and in for me. You can do this and this. Yeah. And
which is such
as women, that's really, and men too. Men have
there's a different
layer of like taking care and expectation. Yeah, sure. There are layers that are on us that are upbringing in our family and our, the class that we grow up in makes us think like, that's right. This is what I'm supposed to do. And you can break that.
Yeah. No, I think 100%. And you and I are both reflecting on formative years experiences on that and how those are shaping us. But I do think to the point of realizing that at some point, I think we all eventually realize that we are kind of responsible for our journey.
Right.
And at the end of the day, the more we put on others that responsibility, the less empowered we are. And I found the definition of empowerment. Okay. We've been using it, right?
Yeah.
So this is the Webster or whatever. It's not Urban Dictionary, right? So it's the process of becoming stronger and more confident, especially in controlling one's life or claiming one's destiny, right?
I love that.
That's the definition of it, of controlling one's life or claiming one's right. And I really think, Kathy, like if you think about what holds us back from what we want to do most of the time, we can either say it's us and ourselves or it's someone else and something else. And the reality is it's probably a little of both. If you don't have money to start your own business, you can blame it on the money, or you can blame it on your ingenuity or lack thereof to be able to get that money. But one is in control and one is an out of control. Right. And so I love the definition of empowerment, which is it's all about realizing one's self-control of our circumstance.
So this is a question I know you like to ask.
Yeah. Yes.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Were you when do you feel like you gained the confidence to like take control of your own life? Was that early? Was that
no? I think when I become 90, I'll get that. So
that's not true. No, I mean, look at you've been able to like create this life, which is great, and you're changing other people's lives. Like you've done a lot in your short lifespan, but I appreciate that you think I'm that young. Right? Younger than me.
Yeah, 6 months.
No, but when did that confidence come for you? Or the desire to have the confidence to take control, right? So, confidence is a weird word because it's just the desire to take control, like that definition.
And I still would consider myself very not self-confident, like inside. So, I mean, I still feel that's part of my journey that I'm on. And I think to some extent, maybe we all feel that way for a period of time. But I feel like growing up for me, as I said, I had a father, and by the way, taught me how to work really hard.
Right.
That was it. It was mow lawns, sun up to sundown from 8 years old until we could get a job of our own and not get the money that we were making to go pay for our parents. We could actually pay for our own lives. To then having a grandfather who always, he went to 2 years of college. So he was kind of and he had self-employed. He had his own tool rep business. He had a nervous breakdown. And so at 34, he couldn't continue his progress. He felt like that was a barrier, a mental barrier and a block for him. Yeah. So seeing that a little bit of like, it inspired me to do more, but it also helped me to see that we self-limit based on, and I'm not saying mental wellness is a real thing.
Yeah.
But it can become a limiter if we allow it to be in our lives. And then getting involved in this business, as you said, like at 21 years old and realizing and being around people that saw the world differently, that I thought, no, this is up to me to define my destiny, so to speak. And then seeing, again, the founders of the company or mentors of mine who just saw the world differently. And I ended up realizing that really our lives they are the outcome of what we internally enable ourselves to build. And so I just feel like no matter what it is, whether it's like, I've always felt like I was like not enough, right? Growing up as a kid, it was always like, we didn't have enough money. I wasn't good enough in sports. I wasn't that smart. I was very average at everything. But what I've also found is that most people
are average.
Right. The question is how persistent you are in being average. Because if you're willing to just do the work over time, you actually will outperform. Like they talk about child prodigies. And I heard this study once that child prodigies, by the time they're 34 on average, they are caught. Everyone. So these are people that grow up and they graduate at 12 years old. They typically go into very defined professions, accounting, lawyer, attorney, or doctors.
Right.
But by 34 on average, they've kind of caught up. And then beyond that, they tend to get surpassed. And part of that process is not having so much given maybe early on that they don't know how to advance it further, as opposed to those slow starters that end up realizing the only way I'm going to get ahead is by persistently doing the work. And eventually you start to realize, oh, wait, a lot of people gave up on that. Whatever it is, it's fitness, it's smarts, it's whatever, like learnability. They stop after university. They say, I'm never going to touch a book again. They limit themselves, or we limit ourselves. And so it's just realizing that. So for me, it's a much more progressive journey of like every day, every experience is either an opportunity for us to learn and get better, or an opportunity for us to say, yeah, you know what? At 50 years old, people just don't do that anymore.
What? No,
that doesn't happen. Yeah, right.
I don't believe in that.
I get it. That's why we're 50, doing the podcast. I can't do it. That's why we're doing the podcast.
But you're really disciplined. You're a very disciplined person. Do you work out every day?
Yes.
Most of the world doesn't work out every day.
Most for mental health. Yeah.
Well, again, absolutely. But like, I'm a very disciplined person. I call it a creature of habit, but at the same time, it's being very disciplined.
We're in the gym at the same time. Just your gym, my gym.
Yeah. Right. But being disciplined, do you feel like that's given you not an edge, but the ability, not an edge, the ability to grow where you want to grow? Yeah. Because like you said, it's hard work, and being disciplined is hard.
Yeah, I would
it's
actually
hard to keep trudging forward constantly.
Yeah.
And you do it in business, in health,
There's nature and nurture, right? So the way I see it is, naturally, I'm a lazy person. Like, actually, naturally,
well, I think most people
I'm a lazy person, right?
I should say most, like, average middle class American people. I don't want to judge everyone.
No, but I think we just are. We're biologically engineered to save energy.
Yeah.
So we're biologically conditioned to sit on a couch versus run a mile, right? We literally, our bodies don't want to burn that energy. They want to conserve energy. So with that, what I've learned in life is, like, you have to build your life so that you're not lazy. So for me, it's not about working out every day. For me, it's about waking up at the same time with my gym clothes right there and getting to the gym the exact same time and doing and then it's the scheduling that makes me disciplined, and it's the scheduling that makes me not lazy. But without scheduling, so for example, I used to work out and it was like, I'm going to get my workout in today. And then, maybe 70% of the time I got there, but there were days where I was just like, you know what, where now I realize if I don't get it done at 5 or 5:30, I don't get it done. And so now it's like, no, build the life you want, right? It's like literally, no, I'm in the gym. I like wake up, boom, boom, boom. And then you build it that way. But you're right. It's like Kobe Bryant talks about, like, that most people aren't willing to do that 10,000 hour journey. And if you're willing to do, and it's not even the 10,000, just do 1% more and you're going to get better, is how I view it.
Yeah. And it does open the door and give us the ability to do more than we
for sure
are naturally, like, made to do. For sure. And I love that. Okay. Yeah. So with being a dad, how has fatherhood impacted the way that you look at empowerment and, like, helping others? Because I know how important being a dad is.
Yeah, it's everything. Yeah, I feel like, and I was blessed with, amazing mother who cared for us emotionally, was probably over coddling. I don't think we could do anything wrong. A father who provided the necessities and taught us how to work. Like, that's like the lottery, just having that, right? Despite anything else. But for me, for me, becoming a father, and I always tease my oldest daughter, Savannah, that, I was like, when she first came out of the womb, so to speak,
in the birthing process,
I felt nothing for her. Like, it took me like 2 weeks to acknowledge that this was actual blood, because I felt like I should feel something more. And I didn't.
Interesting.
And then there was all of a sudden this moment of, like, complete, like, no, she's part of me. And I started to see myself in her. Yeah. And from that point on, so Savannah and then Cole and Ava, my 3 kids, for me, they've just become everything that I am it's why I exist at this point in time. And I know biologically that's also true, right? Is we're here to make sure certain we live beyond us. But I think for me, it shapes everything about empowerment, because when you were just talking about your personal passion around helping women to see their full potential and realize that in the workplace, at home, they can have more than just one thing. I see that all the time. Like everyone I interact with who's female, I think about Savannah and Ava and their opportunities for the future. Any male I interact with, I think about Cole and what he can be and do. And so for me, it's like, it's the lens. Being a father is the lens for everything I do on an empowerment basis. Now, it is literally because I watch how the world's changing and the impacts. And I know I sound like the old man at the donut shop talking about when I was a kid, but you know what? Like, I didn't have to deal with social media.
Right.
I didn't have to deal with an easier life. I mean, life is progressively easier today. It's so much easier to go play Xbox than it is to go get on your BMX bike and ride on dirt hills, which is what we all did.
Right. I mean, I didn't.
We
ride
were
a
out,
BMX,
well, but in St. Louis, they didn't sell BMXs, but whatever they did back in St. Louis, you swam the Mississippi. Right? You did that.
Right,
you fished huckleberry, like you did that stuff. But that's what we did growing up. We were outside, in nature. Our hands. You remember when we would come in? And you'd have to go under the faucet because they were so cold. Today, if it's cold, kids, they don't care because they're just playing Xbox or they're on social media. It's not saying that, it's just different now. And now I'm like, okay, so how do we empower our kids? And that just, it just rolls over into everything I do. Like no matter who I'm working with, I always see my daughter in 20 years or my daughter in 40 years is going to be in this same spot. Where do I hope she will be? And therefore, what do I need to do now to help her be there?
What skills do our kids need to get there?
And how do I help the world to be different? When she gets there, because each of us have an ability to impact in our sphere of influence. So it's like, what can I do now so that she doesn't face the next hurdle? Like, for instance, taking a last name. We were just talking about that, right? I say, so Kathy Schultz Johnson, and you said it's Kathy Schultz.
It's just Kathy Schultz,
Todd, whatever. I tell my girl all the time, I'm like, Sav, Napierski's a great last name.
I mean, it's hard to spell. It's hard to spell.
Well, and that's what she says. She's like, Dad, I've been spelling this my whole life. Like, what if I could get Johnson? Like, nobody would mispronounce it. But there's part of me, what my point is, you don't need to give up anything that you don't want to, including your name, because you are you. You are an entity, a person, a whole person. And another whole person can make you double, but it shouldn't make you 1.6. Right. And that's the thing. It's like, I want to make sure my kids know that. So I need to build the world that way. Right. In whatever way I can, I need to build the world that way.
I love that. Okay. So let's get some more. Let's dig into Ryan a little bit more. Okay. We're going to get really personal here. You seem like a dog person. You give off dog vibes, but really. For sure.
No, I am a dog person.
No,
I have a dog.
No, you're a cat guy. Who do you?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about the cat.
Yeah. So I have, so my first experience with a cat, I am a dog person by nature, but my first pet was a cat when I was 8 years old. I had a cat and his name was Rascal, and I got him for my birthday, and he was a stray cat, but my parents wrapped him up. I don't know if they wrapped him up. They gave him to me for a birthday. Yeah. And all I remember is within a week, he came home and his nose was hanging off of his face before school. So my dad takes him out back and shovels him, right? Kills him, buries him, takes care of him.
This is not where I thought this was going.
So I no longer was a cat person after that. From 8 years old, I said, like, I'm done with cats. Scarred
so you
for
were
life.
A cat
so I became
person,
a dog person.
You just became scarred for a little while.
Well, I became a dog person at that point, right? So I've had great dogs ever since I was 20. Like, we've had dogs, and I have two. One just died. But I have a dog, Mochi.
I'm bringing up a lot of horrible experiences.
But, I have a cat now, and so I have a cat.
I feel
Bear
like
is her name.
I feel like if we asked people, if Bear were a she, a female or a male, most people would accidentally think Bear was a male.
Yeah, and I don't know why, because bears are mammals, and mammals by nature have 51 to 53% are female. So
I made the mistake of calling Bear.
It's weird. He. It's like saying a human, and then everyone says, "Well, the human's a he." Well, that does happen.
That does happen.
But Bear
and
is
I think
a she.
large animals, for some reason, we have given them a masculine, even though in
most
predatory animals,
she doesn't have a weight problem.
Bears.
That's what I'm saying. Bear does not have
no,
a
not
bear.
Your
is
bear.
The perfect weight.
No, not your bear.
Are you attacking
bears as a whole? Like predatory animals, even though the female is usually like the go-getter, we still associate with males. Anyway, I made the mistake of calling Bear a he.
Yeah, you did. It was a big mistake.
But you have quite a relationship with this cat.
Yeah, no. So Bear, so first of all, let me say this.
And her name is
Bear.
Butterfly Bear?
Beautiful butterfly bear.
Bear, but she goes by Bear.
She has 8 names, but
okay. But
Ava and I keep building it. Anytime we get a B word, we put it together and build a bigger name. But yeah, she's become a bigger name. But cats are like physiologically the most superior species.
It's pretty amazing.
They can jump like 6 feet straight up.
I know.
They're unbelievable.
My cat in the gym, when I'm running on the treadmill, will just do like these huge box jumps, like 10 times her height.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And then stares at me like, why can't you do that?
That's it.
It's I don't like it. I don't like the judgment that comes, but cats are pretty incredible.
And where I fell in love with Bear, so first of all, she looked like a little bear. Yeah. She's dark. She has these curls. She's an American curl, so her ears curl back. So she has these rounded ears, round face. Yeah. And her neck and her body are the same proportions of Bear. So that's where I saw it. Where I fell in love with her, though, is when I first saw her, I was playing around with her, and she falls asleep on my chest, which, most kittens do that. And so I was like, okay, this one, I'll take her home. So I took her home, but I was like, I'm pretty well going to just shovel her. No, I'm kidding.
Oh my gosh.
I'm joking. No, I wasn't in love with her, but I was like, she's cute and she loves me.
Yeah.
So, but at one point, I remember I rolled this ball just because it had a little thing in it, and I rolled it down, and she climbs out of my chest, and she walks over and picks it up with her mouth, and she brings it back. She fetched.
There you go.
So I Google it. Cats don't fetch.
No, cats don't fetch.
She fetches. All of a sudden, I start looking at her. I mean, she's extremely smart.
I have seen you try to walk her on a leash, though.
Yeah, she doesn't do that. Yeah, she doesn't walk on a leash.
Yeah.
But she does.
I mean, because she's smart enough to know she doesn't need to be leashed.
Yeah, she just falls over sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she's smart. She's intelligent. She's loving. She
took you viral.
Everything. She took me viral on TikTok. Yeah.
Why? What happened with this?
So we were on, it was Father's Day. Okay. It was Father's Day, and Savannah, they made me these balls that had
They were golf balls.
Sorry, golf balls with my picture with the kids. And they made me one set with that and one set with Bear's face. So I opened both of them up, and I opened the first one up with the kids, and I was like, oh, like, yeah, it's cute, right?
Yeah.
And then I opened up Bear, and I got choked up. But I actually got choked up because of the kids, but it was a delayed reaction.
You say that.
So what happens, I looked at that, and then I looked at Bear's, and then I went to talk to say thank you, and I couldn't speak.
But in the video, it looks like you like Bear.
It looks like
more than your kids.
And then Savannah narrates over it. Yeah. But I think it has like 7 million views now on TikTok.
I mean, I understand why
it's gone viral.
Why it took you viral.
Huge. Bear.
I saw it.
Oh, and you saw it, yeah.
I mean, we all have. Yeah. We might show a clip of it in here as well.
If you can find it, it's everywhere.
It's really so good.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
But yeah.
So Bear is
cats.
Yeah, Bear is part of the Empower podcast.
I guess
we'll bring her in. She can wander.
I guess we
too.
understand that. Why though?
A little bit, yeah.
But that she's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm trying to think if there is one more that I want to ask you, or if we're going to do this. Have you felt that your success has come at a cost?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you hear that a lot, like to be successful in anything, you have to be imbalanced or unbalanced in something, right? Because we can't be exactly the same. And that's probably not true. I know people,
but we still all have the same amount of time in our day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I absolutely think there are trade-offs, right? There are trade-offs that, and unfortunately, because we only get one journey around this world, right? You have to learn through the experiences, right? The hard experiences and sometimes it becomes too late and you can't go back and you can't change things. But I think for me, I absolutely feel that I've been so desirous to build a life that I want in certain areas and I used to always talk with my kids and everyone about a quadrant, of like, you need to balance these 4 areas of your life.
Right.
And I used to think that as long as I was doing all four, it worked.
That it would stay balanced.
But it's not the doing, it's the feeling and the being in all 4. And so if I'm at home, but I'm always thinking about work, or if I'm in my marriage and I'm always thinking about work, that's not being in your marriage. That's not being at home.
Right.
And I think for probably the first 20 years of my career, from 20 to 40, as much as I prided myself on the quadrant, it being truly present and being there when I'm there wasn't there. And so for me, I think I did sacrifice a lot. I think, and not intentionally or deliberately, but looking backwards. And now all you can do is move forward. But I think for sure when I think about, in fact, I was just coming back on Korean Air and they walk across and they give me the 3 million mile deal.
Oh, congratulations.
And I don't travel that airline a lot, right? I mean, I do,
well,
but there's
you have
3 or 4 airlines. So you add all that up. And then I started the whole flight home. They were like, congratulations. The pilot was like, congratulations. And the whole way home, I'm thinking, well, that's where I screwed up, right? Because I've spent how many years, and I added just in my kids' lives, right? Like in my kids' life, about a third of their time, I have been away from them internationally.
But I remember when you came home from Japan and you kind of had that realization and then you took control and you were like, I'm not going to travel as much because I'm missing this time with the kids. And I feel like you have probably traveled less since you kind of...
Certainly since COVID.
I mean,
right? That was a blessing, of COVID.
I mean, but maybe too much time being home, but no, just kidding.
For me, what I realized more, and it's kind of the Dan and Chip Heath book about moments.
Right.
And they go through that book and they really describe how it's not as much time as it is moments. Like our memories work in moments and snapshots, not in durations. So we otherwise our short-term memory wouldn't work, right? If we were just remembering everything that happened during 1996, but then if you say, okay, in 1996, what's something that happened? Most of us would remember the one thing every couple of years. So by creating memories of moments, I think I think that's the hack. Yeah. As we go through life of realizing we are going to have to sacrifice for certain things, but I think when we're there, be there, and that's the principle that I've really tried to gain in there is when I'm there, be there. Yeah. And I think the one other area that's important is in relationships, and you because Jen, and like it's been a difficult relationship for us, and we've been together. And one of the things I heard going through the challenges and being separated now and all of that is, and I read this in the Dalai Lama book of The Art of Happiness, and this was 7 or 8 years ago, and he says relationships never die, they only evolve. So treat them carefully. Right. Which I love. And it was something that just where I embraced to say, listen, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to deprioritize and reprioritize and shift, and we're going to be imbalanced at times. What I don't think we should ever give up on is each other, no matter what, right? It doesn't mean it always will stay the same, and that the relationship and will be the same. And it doesn't have to be traditional or non-traditional. It just is. Yeah. But if we judge that relationship and we expect it to be a certain way, there's more heartache that comes as opposed to the beauty that comes when we just realize that we're all people and humans on the planet, and relationships truly never die. They just evolve. And I think that's a beautiful part of life's journey, is realizing that, you can't go back and you can't fix. What you can do is move forward in a better way. And I think when you talked about moments, that goes to your quadrant where it's like you can spend all the time in the world, but if you're not feeling and present and doing it, you're not going to create those moments. For sure. Whether you're there or not. For sure. And we all do it, right? Of course. We all do it all the time. Our minds are like our worst enemy for happiness. So yeah, but I love that. Okay, in closing. Yes. Talk about Bear again? Well, I could talk about Bear all day. No, I could. In fact, you want pictures? I could. No. Well, we'll show some pictures on here. But what can people expect? Yeah. Moving forward with this podcast. This is our first introductory, of the Empower podcast. Yeah.
we've already like got some interviews that are being edited, but what can people expect as they come back and listen to this podcast? You know, we're going to have episodes every couple of weeks.
Well, I mean, I really believe the best way to learn is from each other. And so the whole podcast is built around getting people to tell their stories in life and how they, and again, we're highlighting people who generally live empowered and empowering lives, one way or another. Again, in business and community, whether it's new skin or out, they're all exuding that. And so we dive into their personal story. And we talk a lot about where they came from, their upbringing, because those formative years are so impactful.
Right.
And it's not that you can't change them. It's that as we acknowledge them, Mel Robbins, right? You acknowledge where you come from, then you're more powerful in your moving forward. And so a lot of what we go into, again, we've done a few already and they're great, is their personal story and their personal journey. And every single one of them is different. Yeah. I mean, I'm amazed so far in the several we've had. They're all successful in X, Y, Z. They come in, and yet their backgrounds are diverse. The way they see themselves, they view themselves, self-confident, self-conscious. I just think the stories that they tell, that's where what I'm excited is getting into people and then seeing how they became what they are today. And success is a very loose term, right? Because they all have different outcomes, but we're highlighting people who have found that ability to take charge of their own lives and find out what they're really passionate about and make that into their life's work. And so it's their stories leading up to what fuels their passion today. And that's what we're focused on. And by the way, I think that's so important for us. And as humans at New Skin, because this principle of empowerment, again, to me, it's the most important self-awareness principle that we all need to learn in life. The sooner we can learn that, the better. Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm excited about that I love is everyone's so different.
Yeah.
I mean, different ages, like you said, they're all successful at empowerment, whatever that looks like. But I think everyone will find something in everyone, but someone who really resonates with them.
For sure.
And hopefully people will find like a moment where they see something that they're like, I can take control of this.
Yeah.
And I can either make the world better for those, you know, that I'm impacting or for myself. But I think there's going to be moments for all of us as we watch these and listen to these podcasts that help us feel empowered as individuals, because the people that are being interviewed, that's what their passion is. Is empowering others.
That's it.
Through their own empowerment. Everyone we've talked to is about empowering others. And that I'm so excited for people to just take control, feel that power, but spread it. Live a life of service and empowerment and do the things you can.
That's it.
To leave every day a little bit better.
Yeah. And I think realizing that we all we're all pretty much the same. We all have different circumstances and experiences, but like being successful in life does not mean you came from this space.
Right.
In fact, what we're learning through the ones we've done already is it's not this space that creates success. It's the people on the outside and the fringe that are always trying to figure out how to build that perfect space, which it doesn't exist. Like that's what I love about it. So it's like average, everyday people who are doing amazing things, and we're just going to build it from there. And you're going to sometimes be the co-host, which you've committed to doing formally as the director.
I have committed to being a backup, but like I'm excited. Like I hope everyone is so excited.
Yeah,
and I think we're going to show some highlights from some of them in this intro video.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be great, and I think we're going to put out a couple a month. If it works the way with all of our travel, and we're going to bring more and more types of people, and so it'll be fun. So, okay, Kathy, this is going to be fun.
It is.
Thanks everybody.
Everyone.